So today we're going to start with the internals, the camshaft, timing cover, things like that. But first thing we have to do is we have to take this off. All right, this is the old sprocket from the timing chain from what was originally in it. So we're going to set up puller. I'll show you how to do it, and we'll go step by step and exactly. Okay, now to pull one of these, the one thing you want to protect, I want to show you in here is this spot right here where that bolt, that harmonic balancer bolt screws in. You want to put something in there that protects those threads inside that snout, because that's the last thing you want to do is mess them up, because then you know your crankshaft is screwed. And this is just a 3-prong puller, and I basically just tapped them in from the backside because it was a little tight of a fit, and I'm just going to use a crescent wrench. And this is not one of those spots where you use where you go to using a impact. This is one of those spots where you're going to do this by hand, because you don't want to put the steroid jerk on this. And all we're trying to do is get this to pop loose, okay? And we're just coming in from behind. It's a very simple process, nice and slow. And as you can see, it's already moving because it is a press fit. She's going to just slide right out. And if you wanted to, you could spray some WD-40 in there and help it move out. But this is doing just a fine job just now. All right. And once you get past a certain point, because basically they're heated when you put them on. And once you get past a certain point, it just pops right off, just like that. And it just slides right off. And then that protected those threads in there, and that is just a valve spring retainer, an old valve spring retainer off an old set of heads, and it does a really good job protecting those threads inside there. So, and that's your old one. Okay, and this is what we're going to use. This is a Cloy's heavy duty double roller timing chain, and we're just going to set this at 0, which it has. I'll take this out here and show you. Now, it's really a nice little unit, and it basically sets, because I've got that number 1 cylinder basically at top dead center, and so there is your 0 mark right there. You see it? That's all there is to it now, and it'll only go on one way. It'll only go on with the keyways. It'll only go on one way, and it's a really nice press fit, and so. How do you get that up and over and where it needs to go? Well, these things, a lot of people do, they take a torch and they heat it up and they kind of slip it on, but we're not going to do that. Since we're going to do that, everything wrong. Oh, another thing I want to show you. Say, this is the front side, flat. This is the back side. There's a machined chamfer in there. And that's for, there is a lip on the snout of this crankshaft. So we're just going to drift this on. And if you want to, I like using a little bit of lithium to get it on. Any kind of grease will do. But I'm so old school, I just always use lithium. I don't know why, but I just always have used lithium. And just get it up and around. It'll squeeze itself out and clean itself up. It just seems to, a little bit of grease seems to just help everything move along. And we'll just do the same thing on the sprocket itself. So we're just going to do that. Okay, and to go with the theme of doing everything incorrectly, instead of using, like boiling it, do whatever, I'm just going to use a drift. But I've got it wrapped in a piece of tape so that I don't take a chance on marring up that crankshaft. And we're just going to go round robin until we hear the thunk. And that's how you do that. That's all there is to it. All right, so now you got your new bottom sprocket on, and you protected your crankshaft with the tape on the end of it. So what's next? Camshaft. All right, this is the camshaft we're using, and every cam comes with a cam card, and right there, advertised duration 288, 298. So I always have liked split durations, heavy on the exhaust, because exhaust, they run 70% of what the intake does, and a valve with a 1.5 rocker arm. So if I wanted to spend the money and buy a 1.6, so we're talking more like a 460 lift and a 485 lift, somewhere around that range, which the springs that I got with this are for up to 490. So it'll work. But I want to talk about this. This is old trick, and I'll show you what these bolts are all about when we put this in the. Okay, I'm going to get you in here real close because I've got the end snipped on the assembly lube, and this is where it gets messy, and you're going to get your hands messy, so make sure that your hands are clean. And let's finish snipping this off here. Okay, and there's not a lot in this package, so we're going to put it where we need it, and it says especially cam gear, and make sure you get it on the lobes. All right, and this is where you just get in there and get messy. Okay, it's going to get everywhere, but this is necessary for the job. Okay, so we want it all over all of these cam lobes, every nook and cranny of each cam lobe, including the ones going in to on the cam bearings themselves. Okay, even though they're broke in already, this is really uber sticky. It actually feels like anti-seize. Okay, that's what this feels like, which is good. This is all the abrasive that everything, and you're just going to slip it in, and we're going to go nice and slow, and you want to support it as you go. Okay, so you're going to lift it and just kind of bring it in. Sometimes the cam lobes hit. Okay, so your first line in, so you can stop here. All right, so you take since you already got a hand dirty, it's just like a tube of toothpaste, and we're going to get it. Actually, I want to get this off. I'm just pulling this off. Okay. And we're just going to dab it, and then we're going to rub it all over the place. And I'm probably not going to fire this thing off for a while, but this is the whole process. You want to make sure and get it on every inch of this camshaft, and then also on to the next lobe that the cam bearing is going to go on. Okay, all right, and again, okay, now this is starting where these bolts are come in handy, because I can handle it like this as I'm putting it in, but once I get to this last section, there's nothing to grab a hold of, and that's what these bolts do. They create the handle, because it's going to be, the last one is always the worst. Okay, so here we go. Here goes the next one. And then we're in, all right? And then we stop again with the cam lube. All right, like I said, all over the place. And like I said, this feels exactly like anti-seize. All right, in, all the way around, every lobe, including where it runs on the cam bearing, every lobe. Make sure it's right. Okay. All right. You can spin it if you need to, because you're saddled into the cam bearing, because they're equally spaced. All right. They're equally spaced. So I'm sitting on 3 out of the 5 cam bearings right now. Okay. So, and it spins freely, and it actually wants to come out because this engine is leaning a little bit to the bottom. Okay. So there we go. All right. Here we go. Going to go in, support it. It's sometimes they're going to, the actual, when you get to a larger cam, you have to kind of wiggle it because you're going to feel it. This cam lobe right here, you're going to feel this cam lobe actually like contact the surface that where that cam bearing is sitting. Okay, so you got to kind of like just wiggle it around a little bit just to get it past where it needs to go. All right, here we go. Here's that, and it says that's pretty much the whole tube. And I'm going to put one on here, some on here, and some on the end here. All right, so that looks like it's just about the end of the package. All right, then we're going to save a little bit of that and probably buy another one for the bottom of the lifters. Okay, but right now we're just going to do this. And then we'll set this over here on the table. All right, we'll spread this around on this one. You can, like I said, you can spin it. Make sure you get it everywhere. And this right here, this here is your cam lobe for your fuel pump rod. Right? So make sure you put some on it. Make sure you got it spun. Make sure you got lube every bit of that cam lobe, because this is the most part. A brand new one, you're going to make sure you get this on there. And like I said, we're going to add it to the bottom of the lifters also, just to make sure. And then last one is right here. All right. Make sure we got full coverage on the whole thing. Okay. Now I'm going to stand up for this. This is the one that's usually pretty hard to do. And make sure you get a good handle, a grab on it, because she's going to slip out. She's going to slip. And then you just a wiggle. Boom. And we're in. You're all the way back up against the back, spinning freely. And you've now just installed a camshaft. And yeah, looked like you jerked off an elephant. Okay, and then once you have it installed, you can just unscrew your bolts right here, just like this. And that's your handle. And these are just old ones I had, just laying around, just stuff. And it's I don't even know what size that is, but I just have a big bolt bin, and I found a couple to do. And so now we're going to take the timing chain, and we're going to spin this around a little bit, use our harmonic balancer, and just spin it around where this is straight up, because you want that 0 right there. That 0 right there, you want it straight up and down at 12 o'clock, because your timing set is going to have a mark on it at 6 o'clock, and you have to match them up. So let's get this straightened out. And we'll just take the old clunky harmonic balancer. You know, we got to move this so I can actually see it here in between the balancer. We're just going to move it till it's 12 o'clock straight up, just like that. All right. And then your timing set, again, has one mark on it right there. And that one lines up with that mark. And then you know that your camshaft is timed. So let me find I got some cam bolts sitting laying around here in a package somewhere. Let me find them, and we'll show you how to do this. I save a lot of things, and cam bolts. Okay. So on this, you know, you got your mark and you got your dowel pin, and it has to line up. So most generally, the dowel pin is going to be sitting about 3 o'clock. Okay. This pin right here to match up with the dowel pin, because these have to have bolts go through them. Okay. So the easiest way to do this is you come from the bottom and you work your way on, because a double roller doesn't have any give. Okay. So we're going to go from the bottom, and I got the cam lined up where I think it ought to be. And then we're going to take and just kind of wiggle it in place, because a double roller timing chain set doesn't have any forgiveness. It doesn't have, there's not a lot of movement involved. All right. So right now we're sitting pretty good. All right. Boom. All right. So I'm off. See, I wasn't even paying attention. I'm down here off on the bottom. All right. So, but So I have to take this back out. Oops, and you don't want to take cam with you. So be careful when they're tight. We'll do this. And I know I got to move one tooth over. And that should be right on right there. So then we're going to take a cam bolt and we're going to put it in the hole just to hold it in place. And we're going to look and see if we got anything binding. And if we're hitting, and we're not. So this is the way the mark should look. Okay. She's pretty close. Once I tighten it up, because that tooth will be with that tooth and that mark, so that's zeroed. All right. And we'll put this one in place just to put it in place. All right. So, but we got one more thing we got to do. We have to, these, if you can buy a little plate and you can bend the tab over to keep them locked in, but I've always just used Permatex blue, thread locker blue, not red. I use blue because this is kind of forgiving. This will hold it enough where it won't rattle loose in the engine. If you use red on one of these, you're grinding them off and to get this apart. So, okay, so I just used a little blue, all right? And it doesn't take a lot. It's just a little bit on the threads. That's it. That's all it takes right there. Boom. A little blue. Now, if you're running a hydraulic cam and you didn't need any movement this way, you'd put a button in there. But we're not doing that. We're just using the regular flat tappet cam, which makes it not necessary because the timing chain itself cover will keep this in place. And besides, the double roller will keep it straight. All right. And then it's just a 1/2 inch bolt. You just thread it in and lock it in. And they say inch pounds this, inch pounds that. No. You just tighten it up till it stops. And then you give it a day. And the thread locker will hold them in place.